What was your high school's biggest scandal? Teacher went to Thailand for 4 weeks. Came home married with a 20-year-old girl. He was 60. That green card smell. Green diggers. Football player got drunk at a party. Came home. Put a pot of water on the stove. And passed out. The house burned down. Killing the player and also his handicapped sister and her handicapped friend, who were trapped on the 2nd floor. Principal learns of other students who were at the party and suspends them for underage drinking, which also forbade them from playing in the last football game of the season against the rival school. Football parents were pissed at the principal for the decision. Also, somehow, the dead football player was labeled a hero by some. Death really does vindicate you, even when you indirectly kill 2 handicapped people. An undercover cop tricked an autistic kid into buying weed for him, then arrested him. We're on Vice News. My senior year there was a girl who accidentally put nudes of herself on her Snapchat story. She deleted it off her story but people took screenshots. The problem was that she was 17 at the time. So the police were talking to her about everything. Then she snitched out a much loved classmate who was selling weed so that the attention would be off her. The guy was caught with weed in his car and her nudes on his phone. So the police tried to get him with possession of child porn because he was 19. She became the most hated person in the senior class after that. Our football coach got shot in the locker room by a disgruntled parent. The beloved driver's ed teacher turned out to be a pedophile 6 offender. A 14-year-old girl accused him of groping her during driving practice. No one believed her. She was bullied relentlessly in school and on social media. She ended up transferring to a different school because of it. A few months later, someone finds child porn on the teacher's computer. Bonus, none of this happened until after I'd already taken his class and driven with him. Fortunately never completely alone. I remember one day, for some reason, he brought up hentai and Japanese fertility festivals. He told me to watch out for those dirty Japs because they all want to grape little girls like me. Looking back on it, I cannot believe I didn't say something. It's crazy what kids will put up with from authority figures. The band teacher in junior high ran off with the 9th grader. They were in love. I'm an old guy. So my senior year of high school was when our school got class computers that connected to the internet. Dial up. The installation happened over the winter break. And when we got back, suddenly our social studies teacher began showing videos in class. Like every single day. For a while we thought he was just burned out. Until we noticed that during every video he had his computer monitor turned awkwardly so that no one at the back of the class could see it. After a couple of months, the administration looked through the records for internet use and noticed he spent a lot more time online than everyone else. When they dug deeper to see what he was doing, they learned he was spending entire days surfing porn sites during class. He was swiftly and unceremoniously replaced in the middle of the term. Truth story. But I don't blame anyone for doubting it cause WTF dart. Preacher's daughter, 13? 14, got pregnant by her older brother. It was a whole huge scandal. A lot of people stopped going to his church. My mom tried to convince her mom to let her have an abortion. The suggestion did not go over well. She had a little, noticeable, bump and was still attending class. She said the brother raped her. And then that the brother and some of his friends all raped her. He said they'd been fooling around a while and denied it was rape. She ended up miscarrying. The preacher father retired. A ton of guys got in trouble for making a list ranking top 100 hottest girls. They had it in a Google Doc with comments. Welcome to your tape. So this teacher in my school got caught texting with one of his students. It was quite funny how he was caught. He accidentally sent one of the messages to the whole class. This picture was in every kid's phone by the next day. Imgur.com. Dear God, that made me cringe. What ended up happening? This happened on a Friday. He quit his job on Monday. I know he was under investigation by the police, but I have no idea how that went. Drama teacher and pay teacher got caught screwing each other on school premises. Pay teacher was married and had also previously gotten a media teacher pregnant. Also while married. Big hush hush cover up, but everybody found out within a few days. Both got instantly suspended and we never heard from them again. Oh, and I obviously couldn't go without mentioning the pedophile who raped disabled kids 5 odd years ago, and a teacher who left the school a few years ago who last year was convicted of 7 counts of sexual assault on underage girls. Poorly kept secret that the cross-country coach was ducking a girl on the team. Even less well kept is that he had done the same with a girl 5 years early. The kicker is the first girl came back and became a teacher in the district. She and the cross-country coach are married now. Went to a Catholic all-girls school. Girl got pregnant. She was first kicked out. Then one of the nuns yelled at the principal, who then agreed to let her come back if it meant after school hours and being taught her lessons in an old classroom in the basement by said principal. Girls in each class had abortions by the time they graduated. But because you could see the pregnancy, my friend wasn't allowed to be taught properly and wasn't allowed to walk at graduation. It happened before I started going there. But one of the students obtained a copy of the school's master key, made 500 copies of it and sent it to random students in the school's directory. The school threatened to call the FBI on the people who took part in the scheme if they didn't come forward. So they surrendered. The masterminds ended up getting off pretty easy. They weren't allowed to walk at graduation and they had to pay a portion of the cost to replace every lock in the school. But they were never charged criminally and nothing permanent ever happened to them. The people who received the keys weren't punished, though they did have to turn in the keys. The incident was actually featured in an episode of that old MTV show High School Stories. My school wanted no part in the episode and refused to let the film crew on school property. Edit. Clarified a few things. Volleyball coach got pregnant my senior year of high school by her daughter's boyfriend. The daughter was a junior at the time. And the boyfriend had already graduated. The only reason anyone knew was because the coach and her husband were white. And the boyfriend was black. The daughter and boyfriend stayed together and are now married with a kid of their own. Coach and her husband stayed together and raised the baby together as their own. To my knowledge, neither couple plans on telling their kids what happened. Edit. By her daughter's boyfriend. Not with her daughter's boyfriend. A girl in our high school hid her pregnancy pretty well. Bigger girl that didn't really show so nobody knew. She gave birth in a school bathroom alone. Killed the baby. And put it in the trash can. The janitor found it later. It turned out that she was sexually and physically abused by her alcoholic father. The baby was his and she was terrified about what would happen to her if he found out. She was scared for her life and did not know where to turn. Terrible in every sense of the word. The only good to come from it was that her dad went to jail. A Spanish teacher was fired on a Thursday. He came back in on Friday with a legally purchased AK in a guitar case. He went into the headmistress's office and killed her and then shot himself. This was at a fancy Christian private school, so it shocked everyone. People always worry about students shooting up schools, but this time it was a teacher. My senior year, some junior who had just transferred that year, and this is a really small private school, got caught selling weed out of his locker. He didn't do this often. I think he forgot it was in his backpack and just decided to wing it because he couldn't get out to his car before lunch. Well, the school faculty took his phone and saw everybody he had texted about weed and brought all of them, like 30 plus people of all ages, into the office to interrogate them. A lot of these kids were illy sheltered and had literally bought from him as their first time trying pot. The school made a lot of them call their parents and tell them what happened, so essentially the whole day was full of people nervous and or crying. Then eventually he got escorted out of school in handcuffs and expelled in his first semester. We had a school exchange program with a city in Mexico. Some exchange students locked themselves in the computer lab and sent mails home that they were afraid to leave the room. We had a huge North Sea problem back then, including regular gatherings at the local lake. They agreed to leave the room once police was around. This was in Germany BTW. 2 teachers got caught having an affair. while one of their spouses was dying of cancer. No. Newt Gingrich was not my teacher. A huge drug bust that was even on the local news. Good amount of kids were arrested during class and were never seen or heard from again. JK, they went to juvie. That happened at my high school too. We even had an undercover person as a student and got a ton of kids that way. I was homeschooled, so when everyone would leave for the day I had about 8 hours of being home alone. I'd drag a mattress outside to do backflips. I used to jump off the roof. Play with fire. Put a bunch of baking soda and vinegar into large bottles until they pop, making a loud bang. Then clean it all up before anyone got home. I always got my work done on time before going to school once a week to turn it in and had excellent grades. No one ever found out about my mischief. Glad I never got hurt. We had an undercover cop pretend to be a student. It didn't work. It could have been the fact that he pulled up in a brand new SRT Challenger, $60,000 car at the time, or the fact he was 6'9" and had Iraqi 072 on his arm. Also, we put the student driver car on the roof. Our principal was pretty mellow about it. He addressed the students pretty bro-like too. I get it, you guys really wanted to do a senior prank. But whoever put the car on the roof, please step forward. We're having issues getting our new air conditioning units on the roof. It's too ducking hot to deal with this. Kid named Billy stepped forward and had his father's crane company remove the car and put the AC units up for free in exchange for not being expelled. Finished high school 10 years ago, but last month it was reported that my old religious education teacher was charged with sexual assault of a minor between the late 80s and 1993. So he basically taught hundreds, maybe thousands, of kids, me included, after molesting 2 young girls. Who knows what dodgy shit he got up to between now and then. A kid once stabbed the teacher at my high school. We weren't even allowed to talk about it. Needless to say, he's still in prison. One of the coaches was caught peeping in on the girls' locker room. Apparently he drilled a hole and everything. Not sure if it was the biggest scandal, but it's definitely up there. The principal stopped by a class and was chatting with the students he knew from our football team. Before leaving, he noticed one of the black students' players sitting in the back away from his teammates, attempting to make a joke. He yelled to him, "Student, it's 2015. You don't have to sit at the back anymore." No one thought it was funny, as you can imagine. Long story short, he made the news and many people were demanding his resignation. He somehow kept his job after that whole storm. But I heard he's still not the same man he used to be. All because of one offhand racist joke. Edit. I experienced this through what my younger sister and parents told me. My sister enrolled in my school, but I had since graduated when this all went down. Just had to clarify my point of view. Not exactly a scandal, but it was kinda weird. There was a cute guy teacher that quite a few girls were obsessed with. One girl in particular would spend every free time she had during the day with him. Free periods, lunch, after school. She could always be found talking about him if she wasn't with him. She knew where he lived and would go there to hang out, and would take pictures of photos in his house. Fast forward. The teacher has a baby. This girl and other girls who were obsessed with him went to his baby shower. When the baby was actually being born, they would keep in touch with him, his friends, that they weirdly befriended, to see how far along his wife was. They even considered going to the hospital. By the end of the year, girls literally kept pictures of his baby on Instagram and talked about how cute he was. Anyways, most of the girls graduated, but they still bother him and even try to babysit his kid. It's all kind of ducked, and the poor guy has to deal with all these crazy girls stalking him and an assumption that he is having inappropriate relationships. Nothing big happened while I was there, but a year or 2 after I graduated, a star tennis player was accused of sexually assaulting a mentally handicapped girl that went to the school as well. If I remember correctly, he pleaded guilty to lesser charge. Senior year. After the homecoming football game, The seniors returned to the high school to collect our yearbooks or something along those lines. Only this time there were hundreds upon hundreds of letters scattered all across the front lawn of our high school. This letter basically was a hate list of someone's and spilt all the dirty little secrets of like 7 or 8 kids. Police got involved and was blown way out of proportion. Was really original, I suppose. But still pretty shitty of the person to do that.